I've got like my friend just sent me a bunch of hard drives to fill up for him. He's starting up a farm, and I open them up, and it's just a box of USB drives. I'm like, you want me to shuck your drives for you? Are you freaking kidding me? I was dying. I'm like, yeah, and I have like it's funny. I have like 5 desktops in my house that are sitting here idle because I've just been way too busy and wrapping up a lot of things at work the last couple of weeks, and then Matt frantically getting our farms in order and rebuilding stuff in the spare time.
And,
So yeah,
I've had
hopefully,
two different friends kind of, ask me what I've been up to. Chia just comes up all the time. And they were like, can you build me something? I'm like, all right, here's what you do. Go to JM's Nook page and just buy everything there. Send it to me. I'll come help you pop in the DRAM now that I know how to do that. And we'll get you farming. And yeah, a couple of friends, didn't even know what Bitcoin was, never wrote down a 24-word seed phrase before. And now I have,
yeah,
people that have never owned Bitcoin are running full nodes for Chia. It's just
it's wild. Yeah,
crazy.
that's the thing about Chia is like other cryptocurrencies. I tell my friends, they're like, I told my friends to buy Bitcoin 100 times when it was at $3,000 and $4,000. They're like, this is, I don't know, it sounds crazy. Now with Chia, everybody's like remembering that, like, oh man, remember when he told us to buy Bitcoin? That was a good idea. We should probably listen to him this time. That Chia is going to be a big thing. But yeah, there's been almost no negativity. Like, and every person I've talked to has just been so supportive. Like, this sounds awesome. Yeah, let's do it. I want to. You can just like, wait. You can just take a desktop and start making money. That sounds great.
Well, it's just such a crazy experience. You hear or you see the big, farming rigs with GPUs or a bunch of Bitcoin amp miners at a reservoir or a hydroelectric plant. And, I know Chia has its fair share of server videos coming out, but it's just so accessible and so easy to set up. Like anybody really can do it. Some of the stories that I've been kind of reaching out to people about their experience, that's, they get the same feeling that they had in when they built their first desktop, and you kind of get to relive that over again. It's been so cool to see that.
Sorry, my dog's going nuts in the background. My wife they just walked out. But yeah, no, it's Kyle. It's been exciting. We're all of us will. I've been getting like 100 to 200 DMs a day on Keybase. Today is even crazier because we have like all the core people, kind of figuring out what the hell is going to go down tomorrow, and speculating about everybody's game plan. It's going to be a fun day to watch for sure. I think all of us that have been involved in Chia, for me, about 10, 11 months, are extremely nervous. Just it's just like kind of coming to the culmination of all this work that we put into like being actually able to transact these coins. We've just been staring at them for the last 6 weeks, and so I think it's a pretty exciting day for everybody. Yeah, and I hope we're going to try to get some more videos up this week. My good buddy Eric, who's a Chia OG, yeah, he gave us a nice article on Plotman that we're going to put up on Chia Decentral. We have to work on it a little bit. I'm going to record a couple videos on Plotman. I've got Plotman running on a bunch of desktops. The original budget build doing Plotman is doing 30K equals 32 a day. I got this 10 core i9 10900 that's doing like 3.7 TIB a day with Plotman. So I'm actually just threw a second drive in there. I'm going to push 20 processes on this 10 core to see how high this 10 core can go before it explodes. My hypothesis is that you're only going to get about a 20% gain, compared to 10 processes, just due to hyperthreading and all the other inefficiencies. But we'll see. I'm running some really cool tests right now, and I've got a couple queued up that I'm going to share. So
Awesome. I guess kind of going back, how did you get started with Chia? How did you find it? What drew you in? And I mean, why are you here today as kind of the face of the Chia community?
Let's be clear. I am very familiar with BitTorrent. I did a lot of BitTorrent in college. This is like the funniest thing about having these files. that have gone with me for many different hard drives and many different systems is they have the date on there, when the file was created. And I have torrent files back to like 2002, 2001, something like that. Like, it's crazy that I have a digital file that's that old. Like, yeah, I have fond memories of like, torrenting Bloodsport in the dorms of our college, and like getting all of us all together and like watching these crazy, stupid videos on these, like, I remember like just whatever we had at the time, that it's weird to think like when I was in college, Kyle and I went to college together in Colorado. And when I was in college, like there wasn't even a big screen TV and iPad didn't exist. Like, this is crazy. BitTorrent has been around forever. And so, when I first heard like, oh, the inventor of BitTorrent is, creating cryptocurrency, is like, oh, this is pretty interesting. Like, I should look into it. This was like 2018 or something. And, unfortunately, there was, the Chia was still very early and they didn't really have much to go on. They just had a website that said, yeah, we're coming soon. We have some stuff going on with Chia. And I finally checked back, I think it was like June-ish of last summer. And, I saw that they had an alpha. I was like, ooh, okay, great. So, I installed it, figured out how to, I was like that noob in the chat that immediately just dropped into Keybase and was like, at Bram, like, hey, what's up, Bram? Can we talk? Can we hang out? Like, I hear Bram Cohen's here, and it just like, crickets. But then I realized, sorry, one sec, I'm going to shut my door. My dog is like going nuts.
Yeah, all good. The work from home dog background. I think we're all too familiar with that now. There we go.
Okay, dog yelled at. We'll see if she shuts up for a little bit. Yeah, and so, it's funny, and I came in and I installed Keybase, and then I like looked at it and there was not much there, and then I got busy and I like kind of left for a couple months, and then I think I came back and like I guess it was right when the alpha finally released, like I was able to install it in Plot, and I was like, wow, this is really hard. Like, and I'm an SSD guy, so I do what I know. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a kernel trace. I'm going to look at the endurance. I was looking at the smart attributes before and after, and I just noticed like one plot file at the time. In the alpha, it was taking 6 terabytes of writes to write a single K equals 32, and I was just like, this is insane. So I was just trying to help people out in chat, like, hey, you shouldn't use like consumer SSDs for this. This is not a good thing for these SSDs. It's gonna just rip through them. And thankfully, Gene and the team were like super happy for my help and expertise. They're like, yeah, we don't want to be known as, Chia, the destroyer of SSDs. Like, that would be a really bad thing for us to just, and you can see even how good Chia is now with like universal support, and everybody's like, very supportive of Chia and the ecosystem. You still have these garbage articles from like Tom's Hardware. By the way, I know the guys at Tom's Hardware, and I sent them a nasty email like, look, your guys making you look like shit here, like sending you, like writing this article. It's just nonsense. It said something along the lines of like, oh, you need like 400 gigabytes of DRAM for a Raspberry Pi for like, 100 terabytes or something. It's like, no, and it's just like, just stop. There's going to be some people that try to throw stones at this, like, oh, it's a waste of hardware. This is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. That's what people still say that about Bitcoin, and people still say that it doesn't make any sense and it's stupid. And clearly, the market disagrees with them that Bitcoin is valuable because people think that it has value, and people are willing to pay money, US dollars, for it. So Chia is going to be no different. There's going to be a lot of people that try to attack the core fundamentals, but the reason why I'm involved with the program and I've been so passionate about Chia is I really do think it is the solution to the Bitcoin energy problem. I don't just think that the Chia team is making this up. In fact, I did my own thesis and basically wrote an entire, paper on why I think that this is actually true. And I actually did the math, went through the total cost of ownership, went through the energy usage. You can find that at chiapower.org. And yeah, to be clear, I was like, very skeptical. Like, this is, like, I know the storage market, I know how big it is, and I know that, I know a lot about it. So I made sure to do the real analysis to make sure that they're the real deal. And if they pulled this off, they made a cryptocurrency that's more decentralized than Bitcoin, and 5,000 times less energy use for the same level of security. So it's wild.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was just thinking back. I was living in San Diego at the time, and we probably hadn't seen each other for a few years, and we went out and got a drink, and we're just kind of talking about Bitcoin and how we both, I think, had started buying into it again. We were either, dollar cost averaging or just YOLOing some paychecks into it, just because we were like, man, there's really something to this. It's getting more traction. And we were, at least I was, kicking myself knowing that we were living together in, what was it, 2012, 2013, which is like prime Bitcoin mining time. And we're just like, we didn't do it for some reason. We just didn't really find that technology. I think just associated it to so.
I think we were too busy with this stuff. Kyle and I lived across the street from the Coors Brewery, so yeah, that's entirely possible. But yeah, we also used to be big online poker players, so I'm actually shocked that we never came across, Bitcoin. But it wasn't used back then for anything useful. It was just there.
Yeah, I used to trade, and it was I mean, yeah, just going back and forth on the Silk Road was, I guess, the real use case at the time. But and then, yeah, I guess, we kept in touch, and I think I don't remember, something. I responded to one of your Instagram stories in November, December or something, and you were like, yeah, I'm working on this cool crypto project, because I think I was one of your only friends that wasn't, what is Bitcoin? What's a wallet? How does it work? And like anything, you send me the link, and then I read through chia.net, and I was just, I'm a total crypto skeptic of any project coming in. I kind of read through it, and the green paper was obviously way over my head. But then I joined the Keybase, started just kind of watching some of the conversations going back and forth, and seeing Gene, every person that came in and had some sort of skeptical question, they all had an answer for it right off the bat. And then, you either know who Gene is or research his background. And obviously with Bram and the background of BitTorrent, I was like, man, maybe there really is something here. I need to dive a little deeper into this. And from that point on, I guess kind of mid-December, I've been just all in down this rabbit hole. And, I got the NUC, started farming, and it's just been such I don't know, a real incredible experience seeing how well thought out this project really is, and the community members behind it. And it's been so easy to just kind of fall in love with the project and the fundamentals and the community. And it's just taken me down a rabbit hole I didn't expect I'd ever be down. So it's
yeah,
it's been a
lot. It's one of those things that, like, back in the early days of the Keybase, it would be like me and Zornox and Kiwi and Eric and like obviously Gene and Bram and a couple people, but it would be like a very small crew in the chat late night at like midnight or something. It would just be, and it was very like, it's all the questions, like just very intellectual. Like, I want to know how this new consensus stuff works. So I had a question, one night Gene and I was like, let's solve this probability thing, which ended up in that spreadsheet we just did a YouTube on. Like, it was just like one little thing at a time. And it wasn't like we just released all that stuff on the wiki in one day. It was like week after week, we just like, oh, this question's coming up a lot. Let's add it to the wiki. Oh yeah, like, and people were asking a bunch of questions about endurance or what SSC to use. So I just, made a full spreadsheet, put it up there. People are asking like all these questions about, and I knew this would be like a hot question, right? Which is like, okay, how do I plot super fast? And people want to compare specs. So I made this Google spreadsheet that now, basically this Google spreadsheet gets like 10,000 visits a week, and Google is yelling at me like, don't do this on a spreadsheet, like take this thing down and publish it or something. Like, like we're totally breaking every tool that we're using for Chia just because it's so blown up so much. Yeah, and I always just appreciated that like community where everybody was like really like just intellectually curious about trying to figure this stuff out. I've been trying to answer as many questions as I can. It used to be easy to answer everybody's DMs on Keybase to be able to help people out. Like, oh, hey, I looked at your NUC build and I can't get it working. I'm like, oh, okay, did you get the permission set for your script? They're like, ooh, no, it's a good feeling. Like, people that were just like making progress, going way past their skill set, people that are like Windows guys only, installing Ubuntu and being like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but this is awesome. Thank you. Like, we're going for it. Yeah, and just helping people out. so it's been really fun watching these people like kind of get past this, like, the hurdles and actually figure out plotting, like farm their first block. And it's a really good feeling. I know a lot of people have been sharing that. So
Yeah, and that's kind of something we're looking to do. We want to have just a kind of fun community event for the launch of transactions. And I know I've been reaching out to a few of you guys in the community about just yeah, like telling your story in a couple paragraphs, like how you found Chia, what you're excited about. I know in crypto, the community aspect of it is, for better or worse, very important. But with Chia, the community and the project as a whole is just what really drew me in. So if any of you guys have a story out there, or kind of how you found Chia, what made you stick around, experiences with the community, definitely shoot me a message on Keybase. We'd love to kind of feature you up on the website. I think we're going to roll them out this week, just to kind of let everybody know what to expect when they're getting involved in the project. So we're excited about that. Let's see any questions in yet, but
yeah, fire away. If you guys have some questions here, throw them in the chat here, or the Q&A thing. We'll
yeah,
go for it.
But it's oh man, yeah, it's so hard to believe that tomorrow is already here. I mean, you've been around since July. I've only been around since December, but it's been, I mean, both of our wives probably feel like we're partly married to Chia and Chia adjacent projects now.
Yeah, I think my wife's hope was that, like, after tomorrow, I'll be like, okay, now you're done, right? You're good. No more Chia stuff. Not so much. We're definitely just getting started. But yeah, it's weird to think that Bram would say some stuff in the beginning, like, for all of us that were here through the beta and stuff, like, hey, work difficulty might just explode, and might not be very valuable to just run out and go buy a bunch of hardware soon. And I'd be like, Bram, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I've done the math 100 times. Like, it's definitely going to be perfectly profitable to go buy a bunch of hardware. Now I think we're at the point where it's like you're probably at over $100 a coin if you're break even, if you're buying hard drives at full price, close to 3.5 to 4 cents a gigabyte. Yeah, it's crazy. And now, at least with the Netspace where it is, they're obviously thinking about pooling right after they get the transactions working. They've been basically said, yeah, we're going to throw everybody on pooling and just make sure we get that thing knocked out, because they don't want people using proprietary or insecure pooling protocols. So that's really exciting. And I think people too are going to get discouraged, like, hey, I just spent all this money. I spent $4,000 on this desktop and I haven't found a block yet or something. But the idea is that if you have enough space, you can do the probability, and it's very easy to basically do the math to say, okay, well, how many should I win, per month, per week, per day? And if Chia ends up being very valuable, winning a couple of Chia per month is actually going to be a very awesome thing for a lot of people that just have a desktop and it's running, and they might win 4 or 8 Chia in a couple of months, and that might actually pay for the entire system plus some. And it's going to be really awesome to see that, like, people that were like, I guess, just doing it for fun, didn't really kind of think about what the winnings would be. But I know now with the Netspace where it is, people are very, getting very discouraged, and that's a natural feeling. I invested quite a bit, and in the beginning, and even I was like, oh, there's no way it's going to grow, like, until there's a coin price and all this stuff, it's far exceeded everybody's expectations for growth, which is a good thing, which means people believe in the project, which means Bram's secret sauce and the magic of the Chia protocol works, and it's going to work as a decentralized blockchain.
Yeah, and I think this is what the Silicon Valley companies or tech startups talk about. They find that product market fit that just and you're looking at that exponential growth of the Netspace, and it's just insane to think that the Netspace was 115, around 115 petabytes at launch, and we 15x that in 6 weeks. Looking at it, I know that the crawlers and the the node count is increasing so much. It's probably hard to get an accurate answer, but that's It'll be well over 100,000, probably pushing 150,
Yeah.
200,000 nodes before a coin price is set. So our anticipation, and kind of ties into a question I'm looking at here for any predictions of when the Netspace growth will start to slow down, is that is just it's really hard to say. I think that we've gone through models on the hardware market for what what the hardware market could sustain from a retail consumer perspective in the short term, and with a somewhat hard drive supply product shortage already out there today, we're probably looking at 3 to 4 exabytes of net space from that market alone. But once a coin price is set and people figure out how easy it is to plot, you got to figure a lot of those spare 1 and 2 8 terabyte systems of media centers are going to have plots start filling up with them.
Yeah. And by the way, I have my own proprietary Netspace model, and I just shared it with the guy. There's a question here about the incorporating that into Chia calculator. If you guys follow the Twitter, the Chia calculator guys and I had a Twitter back and forth, and I actually emailed him my Netspace model and explained it to him a little bit. I haven't actually got a chance to get on phone with him and describe it, but I actually it's going to be very fast exponential growth until it hits a cap in supply and demand. And at some point the hard drive prices, as we've seen, are not stagnant, right? They are changing with demand of hard drives, and as demand goes up, the price goes up. We've seen now, we know that there's probably 3 or 4 exabytes that have been purchased for Chia stuff, and and the hard drive price has gone up about 30%, right? It used to be about $15 to $20 per terabyte was kind of the regular deal for an 18 terabyte hard drive. Now they've gone up to MSRP, which is like $600 for an 18 terabyte drive. And if it goes, if the demand goes up another 3 to 4 exabytes in the retail space, we might see the price go up another 30%, 40%. So it's kind of an auto-adjusting market where it's just the storage market. If there's more demand, the price goes up. This happens in the memory market, in the DRAM market, which happens to be undersupplied at the moment. It happens in the NAND market, which happens to be pretty balanced. And it's going to be a secondary order effect for SSDs. There's a short-term effect of people buying a bunch of SSDs for the plotting stuff. I don't expect that to be super long-lived. Maybe, we'll see. So there's a bunch of really thoughtful questions here. I'll go rapid fire, Kyle, if you want.
Yeah.
Storage jam, are you the secret oil? I had a lot of space day one. I felt pretty good about it. I don't feel very good now. So into my NUC farm,
I was
300.
I was gonna ask secret.
Uh-huh.
I was like, you've been in the Keybase for 10 months. I mean, you're not the 300 petabyte whale, but
no, I have JBODs, plural. I have multiple JBODs, so I felt pretty good. Yeah, I told you. And does your NUC farm make 30 petabytes of plots? That little NUC, I think, made 40 terabytes of plots without I would just had it running for tests for.
Oh, he's asking 300 of plots. I think globally, probably.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, we could give you our page view stat for our website. It's a lot of people that bought the NUC.
Almost every Chia plotting setup we post has some NUCs in there. I think it was Kevin Rose posted a picture of his sister's.
I saw that on Twitter. Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. Yeah, yeah. So actually the story of the NUC. So I work at Intel. If you guys didn't know that. So I know the guys who actually started the first NUC team, and I was generating SSDs at the time they did the NUC. It was still this thing called mSATA. M.2 actually wasn't invented yet, and I worked with the NUC team to actually design mSATA into the NUC and these 2.5-inch SATA drives. So I actually know the NUC team very well at Intel, and they sent me. I have a stack of the old NUCs in my garage. I literally have like every single one because they sent me to test. And so Eric one night, as the author of Plotman, he was just in the Keybase like, hey, have you ever tested the plotting on a NUC? I'm like, fine. So I got my old NUC out. It's like the dual core i7 one. I plotted on it and it sucked. I'm like, all right, I got to get a new one. So I put in this order for them. Like, oh, they have a 6-core NUC now. We sweet. So I just kind of picked out this build in like 30 seconds, ordered it, and then I wrote that blog post, and that's been like one of our most popular blog posts, for this NUC. And So that's the story of the NUC. It was Eric just one night was like, you should plot on a NUC. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I have those.
Yeah, you want to, how likely is it for SSDs to outlive their official terabyte life span? Is it just
There's,
luck, or can it be
yeah,
influenced by coding or other things?
yeah, there's no luck into it. It's a 100% mathematical model. And so in NAND, you have something called program array cycles. So this is like the great thing and the worst thing about NAND. NAND is super fast, and everybody knows that because you have a phone and you open apps and it's just instant. That's what you have: NAND flash memory on your phone and SD cards and USB sticks and SSDs. NAND is great. The problem with NAND is you have to erase it before you program the cell. So write performance is always much, much worse than read performance because of this. You actually have to erase the NAND before you write it. And this is kind of like the Achilles heel of NAND. And so they have this thing called terabytes written, which is how much data can you write to the NAND cell before it wears out. It is not a luck thing. It's not a, like a, spec sheet thing. Like you can absolutely calculate and predict with absolute certainty how fast an SSD will wear out. And I wrote the model on intel.com/endurance. But the model that I wrote for Chia is very, very sophisticated. If you go to the endurance wiki, it has all the math there. But the thing that people are having a hard time understanding is, so if you grab an SSD and it says it has 600 TBW, okay, what does that mean? That means in a client-like JEDEC workload, which means typically a kind of worst case for a client drive, like kind of nearly full, 50% full, they have a JEDEC workload, which is like basically a trace-based workload of, so basically we have a trace-based workload that plays back the client workload, and then they play it back on the drive, and then typically that has a write amp of about 5. And in the Chia world, if you have trim enabled and your drive is not 100% full, I've measured the WAF, anywhere from like 1.5 to 2, probably closer to 2 on consumer drives, which means that your drive is going to last about 2 to 2.5x longer than what's on the TBW in the spec sheet. And some firmware, as I've learned very closely by people posting their smart attributes in the chat, that some consumer models do this calculation correctly and actually track the NAND program array cycles to track the TBW. Most of them do not. They actually just use the stock firmware from these guys and track host writes and then calculate TBW off host writes. That is not the right way to calculate endurance. And these people are like shocked. They're like, hey, I ran my drive, past 100% used, it's still going. That's not surprising to me at all. I can actually tell you exactly how long it's going to go before it breaks, based on that WAF and the TBW. So yeah, I probably need to do a deeper dive YouTube video on that, but that's a really fun one because for once in the world, people are finally concerned about SSDs wearing out, and I happen to be like the one random guy that knows everything about this. So
yeah, you are definitely the go-to resource for that. Kind of switching gears from plotting to farming, Andrea asks, she's new to Bitcoin, Chia, cryptocurrency, trying to frying their brain, trying to learn everything, understand blockchain technology. Any suggestions about learning Chia, developing in it, why it's relevant, the potential for the technology, particular courses? I'll say the kind of best introduction to blockchain technology that I found was actually Gary Gensler's class that he gave at MIT. It's called Blockchain and Money. It's from the fall of, I think, 2018. Just for learning the technology behind blockchain, it goes into what a blockchain is, how it works, smart contracts, regulation, the financial system, and you kind of get the added benefit of Gary Gensler now being the new SEC chairman. So you get kind of an inside look at what the chairman of the SEC is thinking as well. Not necessarily Chia related, but if you are new to the space as a whole, that is just the absolute best resource that I found to get started. What do you recommend on the Chia side, JM?
Well, yeah, I know that the Chia material on the website, the good stuff, like the stuff that I read, like the proof of space construction document and the new consensus document, those are my favorite documents. They're because I still do not understand every single word in there, and those are very, very challenging documents. Those are not very friendly. For all the non-technical people, I've actually just been pointing them at the business white paper, and it's been super helpful. They're like my sister, would never read anything cryptocurrency. It's like, yeah, I read the whole thing because you sent it to me, and it made actually perfect sense. I'm like, Yes, great. That's exactly what the Gene was going for. So yeah, it's if you're more interested in Chia, the ecosystem, what the goals of the company are, the mission, that's all in that white paper. And they're pretty clear about it. Like they want to change finance. They want to be a more energy efficient, decentralized cryptocurrency. They want to bridge the gaps between the cryptocurrency world and the established world of companies through this IPO process. They're going to be the first company in the crypto company that really tries to do this. So in a way, in the business model that they have, where some coins are, the coins are tied to the valuation of the company. So I think it's very, very cool. I think they're going to execute on their mission and do very well. So
Yeah, that was actually one of the things. I have, kind of a less technical and more business focused background. And when I heard the background of the Chia network and the company and how they were approaching regulation and the SEC and the pre-farm and the strategic reserve, that immediately caught my attention. So yeah, I agree with you. The business white paper outline, I've probably read it 12 times, front to back. That's gonna, I think the work that Gene and Bram did on that is going to, that's gonna look pretty genius in a couple years.
I see all kinds of cool people here in the attendees. Thanks, guys. If you guys want to come up and ask a question, certainly do so.
Yeah,
Kyle and I are. We're not trying to steal the show here. You guys can. We're just two guys. I happen to be drinking a Mind Circus IPA from Rush River, and it's been a long day for me. So yeah.
Anybody wants to pop in? Let's see.
Yeah. There's a question. Jonawan, I think is his name, says, did you see this Reddit thread? Thoughts on HDD shortage from an industry insider? I did read that, and I guess I'm an insider. I know lots of information about the storage market. I thought it was actually pretty well written post. I think that he's kind of understating the magnitude of the impact of this short-term demand, which is there's always these chain reactions, like in one market, like typically demand for high capacity drives in the retail space was not very high, right? The average capacity hard drive that WD or Seagate actually put it in the earnings call. It's like 5 terabytes. That's the average capacity hard drive that they sell. It's 5 terabytes, right? And so, they sell 1 terabyte through 18 terabytes. So the average people that are buying these like really expensive drives is not very much. So we're going to feel it a lot more in the short term, which is just there's going to be the near term retail and channel supply eaten up, which I think he describes. And he just says that these companies, WD and Seagate, are not going to screw over the cloud guys because it's their core business. I actually happen to agree with them on that. I do not think that they would, WD and Seagate would destroy their relationships with their top customers. As somebody who has large customers that happen to be the same guys, I would not do the same either. I wouldn't disrupt those long-term business agreements just for some short-term demand. However, in the disty space, in the retail space, and in this stuff like JBODs that has never seen high demand, there's going to be a lot of weirdness and funkiness from Chia for a long time, and it's not going to just. Somebody asked about the Netspace, my Netspace model. It slows down, but historically, like Bitcoin, the Netspace is going to track the coin price. If the coin price is very high, the Netspace will increase to adjust the market dynamics. People will figure out, oh, there's an ROI to buy storage and farm on it and make money. Let's go do that. And the Netspace will go up according to the coin price. And so I think we're all a little bit worried in this next couple of weeks about what happens and what craziness ensues. I don't think anybody can predict what happens, but as Gene would say, let's grab the popcorn and sit back and watch.
That's really part of one of the most interesting market dynamics about the hard drive world. And not necessarily a commodity good, but something that's so available globally and so much of it is out there already. We from that Reddit thread, the drive manufacturers are going to take care of their tier 1 and tier 2 customers first. They don't want to sell drives to Chia farmers at bulk discount. None of that exists. There's no economies to scale for a Chia whale to go out and spend a ton of money on hard drives and get a bunch of discounts, like that does not exist in the drive market world, especially on the retail sector, which we determined is about 120 exabytes a year. They're going to sell those drives. They'll happily sell them. If there's going to be a 10 to 20% increase of demand, we'll see that price increase, like you had mentioned before, and that's really going to play into the coin price when drives do get more expensive and plots start flowing into the over provisioned space that is already out there now. That's going to be a real interesting dynamic when somebody's break even point for farming and selling some chia that they win is effectively zero. When it's effectively the electricity that they spend to keep their farmer running, and they're using that total cost of ownership versus the total cost of ownership of somebody that buys hard drives new, then we're going to start seeing some very interesting market dynamics with Netspace growth and buying new dedicated hardware for Chia.
Yeah, this is actually, there's a cool question here about, how do you do the ROI for like either, figuring out whether you don't want to put more money in and, buy more hardware or sell Chia. So if you can predict the net space, which I just said, predicting the net space a year out is actually, my model does it, but if you can see from my early models, it's very hard to predict stuff about a year out with lots of uncertainty and unknowns in the crypto market. But in the next 3 months, I think we're going to see very fast exponential growth up to like 4 or 5 exabytes. It's very clear that that's happening. And so plotting speed matters less than it did, then overall capacity is going to matter more in the long run. And the pools will help smooth out variance and rewards. But if you've made some Chia in the beginning and you still believe in the project, so this is another hard thing. So if you can get hard drives for a reasonable price, and okay, say you're buying them for $600, which probably happens to be like 2 to 3 times what Facebook and Microsoft pay for that same hard drive. Okay, so but those guys aren't going to be farming, and so you're really competing mostly against other people like that. And so if you think about the TCO of like when it would become unprofitable to farm, this is very many years away, especially if you're buying 18 terabyte hard drives, because if Microsoft, Facebook, or Amazon buys an 18 terabyte hard drive, their plan is to run that thing for 5 years. They might not make it that far; they might make it 4.5, but it's not like these 18 terabyte hard drives you're going to buy are going to be absolutely obsolete in 3 years. There might be a 22 or 24 terabyte drive in the market. So yeah, if you're buying big capacity stuff, I think you're setting yourself up for like kind of long-term profitability, and the reward frequency will be less. The reward price will be higher, and that is smoothed out by the variance which is solved by pools. So I think it'll absolutely be profitable to buy stuff. It's just, you have to think longer term. You're not going to be like, I want to buy a bunch of stuff, and I have friends asking me this stuff too. Hey, can you build me a desktop and it'd be farming and making a bunch of money by next week? I'm like, no, it's not how it's going to work anymore. That was the case 2 months ago, and it's not the case now. So
we have another question that kind of ties into that. Can you explain how the explosion of the Netspace growth is good for Chia and for farmers? I personally think an explosion of the Netspace is going to lead to more nodes, more decentralization, more adoption, more interest from development communities. And that's really, from a security and development standpoint, bringing in all of this net space for Chia the project is the absolute best thing that could happen. Now, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, it's just kind of funny, like having all these people having like, Chia's made it easy enough to where you can run a full node on your desktop. Yeah, just like Bitcoin. I don't have a full node running on Bitcoin, but I have Bitcoin. So I just have lots of wallets and they connect to other full nodes. The same thing will be true of Chia in 3 or 4 months, where there's many different wallets and apps that people can use to store their Chia. But the thing I'm excited about with Chia, as Kyle said, there's a bunch of people that have these nodes, and the people that are participants in the network. Those people are going to be able to send Chia to and from each other to other people through the actual software. Like, it's funny, this whole Dogecoin craze. Like, my barber was like, "Hey, do you have any Doge?" I'm like, but he bought it on Robinhood. It's not like he could send it to anybody or trade it or do anything useful with it. It's just like they're all trying to get rich and they're buying Dogecoin. But nobody understands what it is. It's like they don't understand that it's a cryptocurrency. You can send it, but it's decentralized, or with Dogecoin, who knows if it really is. I actually don't know anything about Dogecoin, but I think Chia is going to be really cool. Where if we start seeing an ecosystem of color coins and other stuff, people are going to have the software and they're going to be like, oh, this is cool. I can like send people Chia just through the app. I don't need to like download a new app or whatever. I think that's going to be really powerful. So
yeah, and I think all that comes with Netspace growth, and Netspace growth and adoption and pools are ultimately what's going to be good for farmers. I would think you'd want to be a farmer of a successful cryptocurrency that has a growing ecosystem and users. So we're all in on the Netspace growth. It means less Chia for the farmers, but a bigger picture, long-term sustainability for the project.
yeah, and hopefully at least everybody if you're talking about Chia today, prior to the coin price being set, you probably have a couple Chia, or you farm something, or you have something set up. So that's good. I think everybody's going to be very happy when they kind of find out that the team has done a very good job on Chia, and I believe that they will be successful. So.
And we are early. We're 6 weeks after.
We are early.
The coin price hasn't been set yet. It's the other advice I'd give is, it's hard, but expand your time horizons. Like, this is going to be a decade plus long project that if you want to jump on board, get on today. If you can't farm any, buy it on the exchange. If you can farm some and you want to have a 18 terabyte drive sitting in the corner of your room that's fully plotted and just farming nonstop, do that. But we see the Netspace growth alone has showed there is hype and community and people behind this project, and we're just we're early and get on board. What else do we got? Do you think the exchanges are having technical difficulties listing Chia, implementing BLS signatures? This is totally out of my realm. I have no thought on that. I wouldn't think so, but
I'm in purely speculation mode, where I think BLS is maybe used on S2, but S2 is not ready to get any exchanges yet. If there were, for instance, a big exchange that was going to be trading Chia tomorrow, I think we would know about it, and somebody would have made an announcement on Twitter. Binance and other guys have historically made announcements, a couple weeks before they're trading a new coin, and they say this is when it's going to go live, and here's how to get your wallets ready, and blah blah blah. I think if there was a major exchange that was going to be trading tomorrow, I think I would have heard about it. I would have hoped I would have heard about it. I have not. I think people have sent me some links for some random crap. No, that maybe up tomorrow. I will not be. I have enough accounts. I will not be creating any random accounts tomorrow to trade me Chia. I will, however, be watching and.
Well, you can't even create a Hotbit account now because it's been hacked.
Oh wow, that was crazy. There was a question here in the chat, which is good, and then I'm just going to answer it because I've answered it many times over DM and in the plotting hardware channel, which I'm now a mod. So if you screw around in my plotting hardware channel, you're going to get the ban. Trim, is trim good for SSDs? Yes. Back to that endurance question. When you write to an SSD, so you got to remember, like NVMe is the protocol that allows a host software system like a driver to communicate with an SSD over PCI Express. And all the SSD knows how to do is talk, reads and writes in logical block addresses. It can do things like format. It can do things like flush. There's lots of commands in NVMe, but it doesn't know anything about the file system. It doesn't know anything about the files. It doesn't know anything about the software you're doing. The drive is dumb. It just says, okay, the host told me to read this block. I read it and sent it back to the host. What trim does is it basically tells the SSD that this block is not needed anymore. The host doesn't need it. We've erased it. You can go free it up. Now, for the SSD side, this makes the garbage collection process much more efficient. And now the SSD knows, okay, this block's not used anymore. And when it does what is called defragmentation, it goes through and cleans up all these invalid blocks and does a read, modify, write into a new NAND erase block, into a new NAND page, and it moves the data around and everything's happy. So the more efficient this process, the lower the write amplification factor, the longer your endurance. And so trim is absolutely critical to every SSD function. I've been telling people, just enable discard on your mount in Linux and don't worry about it. This is only a problem if you have a drive model that's like 10 years old and the trim time is very bad. Those Intel SATA drives from like 10 years ago, the trim speed was pretty slow. So the new drives have gotten a lot better. So just enable discard by default, and you're going to have a lot better endurance, a lot better performance of your plotting speed. On most of these consumer drives, I've seen people's times go from like 50,000 seconds to 25,000 seconds just by enabling discard, for plot time. So yes, you should enable trim. Trim makes SSDs happy. Do that.
See what else we got in here. Excited.
I just want to say about this guy's name, how cool that is. His name is Harry Plotter.
If you don't have that on Twitter yet, you should get
that. well done, sir. That's we are excited about Chia, and says, there's some comments about not moving the Chia for a while. That would be my strategy. So if you guys can hold, some diamond hands out there, I would do that. I think these guys, this is not financial advice. I am not your financial advisor. I believe that Gene and Bram and the team will be very successful, and that the coolest thing about Chia was that they're not like, oh, there's this like 1 year plan to get rich and then bail. It was like, this is what's going to happen to the hard drive market in 5 years to 10 years. They are thinking about how we can move these financial institutions. They know that these things don't take a year or two. They may take 5 years or 10 years. And then they need a protocol and an infrastructure that is going to be able to scale with all that stuff. So I, for instance, am a true believer and will be holding my coins for a while. So.
And that the enterprise adoption really starts with making sure that you have a secure, decentralized network. And there are, institutions, hedge funds, they're getting into the Bitcoin game because they have to. There's no enterprise knocking down their CTO's door to start writing applications on top of Bitcoin. They are holding it on their balance sheet because right now it's the best performing asset of the last 10 years. You have to do that. Where the kind of integration and development and adoption from enterprises, banks, nations, you work your way up the ladder, that really begins and ends with having the most secure decentralized blockchain. And if we've seen anything with these 150,000 nodes and growing, it's going to hit transactions with somebody posted there's 70,000 Bitcoin nodes, 10,000 that have their ports open to be found and are actually mining Bitcoin. So we're going to be looking at 2.5 to 3 times as many nodes as Bitcoin 6 weeks after transactions unlocked. That's going to be the path forward, and they're going to have all of these resources with the IPO and being able to raise capital and the strategic reserve to go into these banks, go into these enterprises, and show and teach them how to use Chia to move value globally. And that is going to be just something we've never seen before in the space, and that's what I'm really excited about.
And I see a lot of friendly names in this audience.
We do.
Kiwi, I'm looking at you. Let us anybody know if we're just shooting the shit for a few more minutes before I have to go run to dinner.
Will farmers start receiving fees for transactions, and will that be right at the start, or does a kind of certain threshold have to be reached before fees are paid out?
Yeah, I think, well, I asked Bram about this, and he doesn't think that the fees are going to be very high, just because comparatively to Bitcoin. But if the number of nodes suggests that, and all the transactions unlock at the same time, I would hypothesize that the fees will be very high for the first day or two. I think Bram's right. After like a week, it'd probably go back to normal. And if they can do 5 times more transactions than Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's chugging along, even though the Bitcoin fees are, I don't know, a couple dollars, a transaction now. Yeah, I don't know. Certainly we might see some weird stuff in the very beginning. Maybe either people like misclicking or just want to make sure their funds arrive safely from that first transaction or something. You might see some farmers accidentally win a couple extra chia, from a fee. It's entirely possible. Now, long term, yeah, I don't know if they're doing more. If Bitcoin is where it is today, and Chia does 5 times more transactions than Bitcoins, and if the transaction volume of Bitcoin is Chia is 5x of Bitcoin, then the fee price would actually be very similar. And so I think Bramick knows that in like 4 to 5 years, they probably have to do something, and maybe it's not that long, but they have to do something off chain, like similar to Lightning. But for the near term, like 1 to 3 years, probably on chain is perfectly fine. So.
And that's the key to scaling. You're just not going to run a decentralized, secure blockchain on layer 1. That's not in the nature of the code. It's not in the nature of physics. So any of these projects coming out promising 10 billion transactions per second on their layer 1 protocol is just, you're missing something there. And that's exactly it. That's going to grow. That's going to be layer 2 scaling solutions. I'm sure those are coming in some respect, whether it's from Bram team or from somebody in the community building apps on top of Chia. So we're excited to see where that goes. Dan, not a question, but he won a block since he started watching you. We're great luck.
That's great news.
Block. Congratulations, Dan. You can celebrate tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time.
There's another question. I'll answer this question quickly. It just says, hello, there's a lot of nodes and numbers. Sorry, there's a lot of numbers everywhere. But basically they're asking do you know how many, what's the average size of a farm, so that we could predict, for instance, like what the Netspace growth would be based on, there's this number of farmers and they're all plotting 3 to 4 terabytes a day or whatever. No, it's actually very hard to know. Actually, even the way that Netspace works is kind of an estimate based on the number of blocks that are coming in. And yeah, I don't think that it'd be very hard to know exactly what the average person is. But if there's anything that I've seen just from my posts, is that there's many people that are, people that are in Chia, most of them are not just doing 1 or 2 drives, but actually doing quite a few more. It can be 4 to 12 as like a baseline, and then lots of people that are way into it have many more drives than that. And I think people are learning very fast that a desktop runs out of drive slots, and a ATX power supply runs out of SATA connectors real fast.
And yeah, I would say the average node is probably higher than you would expect today. What that's going to look like in 6 months when transactions are unlocked and the plots start flowing to that spare 1 or 2 over provisioned terabyte that cost somebody $0 to plot and farm. I think we'll see that number drop significantly, but we're also going to see that node count explode. I'm not making any wild predictions, but I would not be surprised if we see 1 million nodes in the end of June, beginning of July. Like, it just depends on really what kind of rocket fuel is behind this. So we're anxiously awaiting to see what this coin price does to adoption and the chatter around the crypto community. And I think we're going to see a lot of people that have been very silent about Chia, hoping to not hype it up too much and maybe secure a bag on Monday. There we go. It's my turn this week. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at. 3 minutes. I think we got time for one more before we wrap it. But all right, you got any closing remarks, hopes, prayers, dreams? Tomorrow.
I gotta go install some more wallets on a couple systems tonight and update some stuff to 1.1.3. And yeah, they've been cleaning up a lot of network stuff and performance things. So thank you to the Chia team for all the hard work that you guys do to, I know this, the pace that they're executing on is much faster than is reasonable for any team. I know this because, I work as being a product manager for a long time. We ask the product team to do very unnatural things very often. Everything's behind schedule. It's always late. Everything's, just crazy. So I know the pressure they're feeling is wild, and it's spotlights on them. And I know that after 4 years of working very hard on the project, I know the Chia team probably feels very proud of where they got today. So I'm very excited for them. So
yeah, likewise. And just want to, I think there's a few members of the kind of Chia team and attendee, just like, thank you guys. This has been just a whirlwind, an absolute blast. The same names we see popping up in the community, in the Keybase and Reddit all the time. You guys know who you are. Just keep it up. It's really just been an awesome experience, growing, seeing, learning with all you guys. So I think we got some exciting things coming up for Chia Decentral in the next couple months, and we really want to be kind of at the heart of this community and watch this project grow with you guys. So I think JM and I are going to be in Miami first week of June for what we're now calling the Chia kickoff party. It's no longer going to be the Bitcoin conference. I think there's going to be a lot of Chia talk down there. So any of you guys make it down, look forward to grabbing a drink and talking with you guys. So
yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, again, what Kyle said, I think I see a lot of familiar names here in the chat. Thanks for dropping in, guys. And if you have any cool ideas for videos, I know we actually have a long list of cool. I have more ideas for videos than I have time, unfortunately, but that's why, hence you get the crappy quality YouTubes that I just record and throw up there. So sorry, I don't have any fancy like editing skills, but we'll try to keep the content going. So
yeah, well, thank you. We're at an hour here. I'll shut it down, and good luck everyone tomorrow. We're excited, and we'll be around. We'll see you on the live Zoom stream with the Chia team tomorrow.
Yeah, and Kyle, I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Later, guys.
Take it easy, man.